consultants steal your watch, then tell you the time and then bill you for it. You are creating value for Western companies. But when the Western governments are imposing a tariff, who is getting penalized? The people in India are getting penalized. I think they are working against national interest. For a population of this size, we cannot expect the large corporations to create jobs. Keep on creating jobs for people who are coming into the workforce. We cannot expect the governments to do that. Those days are gone. But currently we seem to be afflicted by a man who gets up on the wrong side of the bed and makes decisions. That uncertainty, you will call it VUCA or whatever you call it these days, you have to embrace uncertainty. You have to be comfortable with it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Vaanikaran, the podcast of I am Shillong. And today we have the second episode of our Margdarshan series and we have a very special guest with us. He's an IRS officer turned consultant turned educator. He was an Indian Revenue Service officer and then did his MBA from London Business School and then became a TMT consultant with Accenture Strategy in London. And then back in India, he was in the leadership position in senior roles at Star India, Pixel Studios, and even in Electronics career with Reliance Jio's content team as well. He's right now part of our strategy team as a professor. We welcome Professor Sanjay Yashroy to the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Sir, how are you doing? How's your day?
All good. We are in Shillong. Nice place to be in.
Great. So we want to start from the beginning of your professional career, professional journey as well. So you started off as an IRS officer. You did your first MBA in 1990s in marketing.
Right.
And then became an Indian Revenue Service officer. And then you decided to go back to doing MBA from London Business School. How did you decide to go back to the classrooms again?
I guess I had the aspiration of getting a good MBA. It's just that there was a time when I did not make it. I got into the IRS instead. That was in 1993. But the aspiration remained buried deep inside me. So when the opportunity presented itself, so I went to LBS, and this was 98 to 2000. Yeah. You know, life has a funny way of taking you to different places, and eventually with a little bit of wisdom and plenty of experience, I can say that we just go with the flow.
But sir, you did your first MBA and you were an IRS officer, that too in India at that time, any time. Being part of government services, something else, what led you to, was there any specific instant that you decided?
No, not at all. I think my heart was not in it. It is also a very specialized service. Within my batch, there were a lot of people who could do taxation better than I could. So I think it is a question of where your mind and heart really lie. And that is what you should chase, I think. Eventually, I got the opportunity. I was blessed enough to get the opportunity. A lot of people don't get that. And so I took that decision then, yeah.
Okay, and you then joined Accenture, that too in London. Definitely, the work atmosphere, everything will be bars apart. But was there? How did it feel like the transition?
Oh, it was tough. From Indian Revenue Service in India to Accenture strategy in London was very, very tough. It was a transition, but that is probably one of the things that the MBA bestows on you. Your ability to manage different situations, your ability to perform in different situations, and but there's always a learning curve. Okay. Never easy.
And then from Accenture, you came back to India and you were part of the Star Group, to the media industry. And I think it was around 2003.
That's correct,
And
yes.
that's also kind of a very changing period for Star as well. There have some kind of an operational changes happening, restriction in terms of foreign ownership happening. Did it? I mean, I'm not sure which kind of vertical you were in, but
The news vertical obviously had FDR restrictions. So Star News, which was a joint venture between News Corp and NDTV, eventually broke up into two different entities. So NDTV became the English channel, and what was Star News had a dominant participation, I think to the extent of 80%, by the ABP Group of Calcutta, Anand Bazar Patrika Group. They did not affect us directly, but yes, these were tumultuous times in terms of. But Star was also on the verge of tremendous growth that time. When in the general entertainment category, we had almost like 70% of market share between 2003 2006. So we were doing well, and it was a great place to be in.
And how did it feel like you consulting at Accenture, that you in London, coming back?
No, like I said, you have to adjust. I think it requires some kind of attuning at a cerebral level and at a cardiac level. So eventually it is a convergence of heart and mind. But yes, for any individual, it is a challenge that you have to seamlessly blend into the culture of any organization. Easier said than done. At times it takes a lot more effort. But I guess I just have been very lucky in this regard.
Got it. So now we want to delve deeper. You're taking strategy consulting here. You're part of our strategy team faculties as well. Consulting, irrespective of what's happening in our economy, the demand supply, the demand for consulting jobs, consulting aspirants is going up every day. Even in our current junior batch, the consulting aspirants are more. But we have other domains as well. Why do you think, apart from all this, how do you think that's happening? And they know that it's a very hard job. You said it's easier said than done. They know that there will be at least 15 hours of work and all those things are going to happen. Still, they want consulting.
Well, young people are expected to work hard. At my age, we are not expected to do 100-hour weeks, but then you guys probably can. It is aspirational. It is very satisfying in terms of intellectual satisfaction. It is very satisfying it is intellectually very satisfying. It is monetarily satisfying. If you like diversity in your work, every project, every client is different, every challenge is different, every problem that you attempt to resolve is different. So it gives you a lot of variety. So there are positive aspects to it, but like anything else in life, and as we say in strategy, it is full of choices. Eventually, you have to exercise your choices.
Yes. And so for the aspirants especially, they definitely have to go through their preparation of the cases, guesstimates, the basic interview prep. But I think more than that, right now, it's also important for them to understand where they should actually position in the industry. So they should know about the trends that's actually happening in the industry. So as you also always discuss, the technological disruption has always been there. It's always a trend that's happening. But right now, with the advent of AI, the discussion that's coming in, first thing, how do you look at this AI trend coming in and from the consulting perspective?
I might be an old fogey talking about it, but 10,000 years back or whenever the fire was discovered, eventually wisdom dawned upon mankind that fire is a very good servant, but a very bad master. I hold the same logic for artificial intelligence. You use it to support the cognitive power of the human mind, I think it'll be fantastic. The world will never be the same again. But if you are abdicating the cognitive power of the human mind to a machine, then we are in trouble. Like I think we were talking about it in a different context the day before yesterday, that there is already an MIT study which has examined the shrinkage of the human brain in those people who are using artificial intelligence far too much. So, but that is a trend, and nobody can stop a technology when it has to happen. So we have to adopt it. We have to find models of adoption. We have to find models of business around it. So that is a clear trend, like you rightly said. The siloed consulting approach of the good old days is gone. The silos are collapsing. So there is no such thing as that I am a strategy consulting firm, but my job is not to help you implement strategy. The client wants a solution. The client does not want only a very snazzy PowerPoint deck. They want a problem to be solved.
They don't want a prompt anymore. Prompt is, they know how to handle it.
They can handle it. Yeah. Eventually, you bring the outsider's perspective, you bring global best practices, you bring a lot more structured thinking, you can borrow from other industries and so forth. That kind of richness of experience. But then you have to now help the client execute the change. So I don't think that artificial intelligence, and I'm speaking from today's perspective, can handle the human element or can replace the human element. The human element is here to stay. The nature of the human element contributing to the consulting process will continue to evolve.
Okay, so basically, from a student's perspective, from an aspiring consultant's perspective, he needs to focus on his core competencies.
Focus on your skills. Keep building on your skills. Now, one thing that we have talked about quite often again is business acumen. And that is something that develops over a period of time. You read extensively, you discuss amongst your peers, and over a period of time, that acumen develops. It's a skill that you can acquire. But if you were to resort to, let's say, artificial intelligence, I should not be seen as bashing technology, but if you resort to an artificial intelligence-driven prompt all the time, then where is the learning happening? Where is the development of the human cognitive power happening? So there are models emerging. I mean, you can choose to be consultants to the SME sector. You can choose to be consultants in a very specialized domain like sustainability, ethics consulting. So models are emerging. Let technology be a support. Let technology not be your master. That's all I say.
Got it. And the one you were mentioning right now, they can be specialist. I think this discussion has also been there for a long time, but even right now, after the COVID, the discussion about specialist versus generalist is also, I believe it's somehow sort of rising up again. And consultants are always, they're supposed to be generalists, or generalists. It's said that generalists win in a specialized world. That's how it's even termed. So do you think they should be vary about specialization or just be generalist? That's the trend even right now.
See, in any case, as you embark on a consulting career, you are expected to be a generalist because you are expected to leverage your skills across any kind of project, across any kind of geography, across any kind of industry. But then over a period of time, even if you don't wish it to happen, some kind of specialization happens anyway. Let's say if you've done 3 or 4 projects in media and entertainment, if there is a next media and entertainment project, it is quite likely that the partner will want you to be a part of that. So, this is what I call that T-shaped learning, that you should have a knowledge of a lot of things. And then maybe over a period of time, you focus on something a lot more in depth. It is the MBA versus PhD model, that learning model.
Got it. And, global disruption, supply chain effects, tariff thing. Those all things have always been there, but right now it's in a different phase. I don't know how much we can discuss about it, but still, by the time we release this, even something new might come up. Something more disruptive can come up. Something more interesting can come up. So, first thing, how do you look at this changes that's been happening from an economic perspective?
I wish I could see some sense in it. But currently we seem to be afflicted by a man who gets up on the wrong side of the bed and makes decisions, right? We have lived through 2 world wars. We have lived through COVID in recent times. We lived through this also. But for the younger people, people coming into the workforce, my absolutely unsolicited piece of advice is that they should be comfortable with uncertainty. That uncertainty, you will call it VUCA or whatever you call it these days, you have to embrace uncertainty. You have to be comfortable with it. Now, whether that uncertainty is a function of the president of one of these superpowers in this world, whether that uncertainty is a consequence of a lot of technology happening and affecting every industry that we can think of. But you have to embrace uncertainty. Those times of absolute certainty, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight, as the pilot would say in a flight, those days are gone.
Be ready to anything that's going to happen. And how do you look? I mean, they should be ready, of course. How should a consulting aspirant especially analyze these changes? Especially, I mean, not just these changes, tariff or whatever happening, any such global disruption happening. How should he be looking at it? Is there any...
Think in terms of linkages. Tariff is probably a stimulus. But what is the likely response, or what is the likely set of responses to that stimulus? What is going to happen to the Indian market tomorrow morning? What is going to happen to those sectors where the tariffs are going to be hurting us much, much worse? Is there an opportunity in kind of building our own capabilities or building alternative capabilities? I personally believe that there's always a silver lining, and while we will rough out in the near term, but from a country's perspective, I believe that this is a tremendous opportunity to build alternative business models and occupy our rightful place in the global scheme of things.
Sir, yeah, but in this foreign relations, all is being discussed more right now. Apart from being optimistic, any specific strategy you think we should do? Like yes, of course, we should push ourselves, we should insert our nails. How do you think we should do it?
No, the Prime Minister has been talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbharta is basically self-sufficiency, which also means that we must have a manufacturing base. We are doing extremely well in services. Traditionally, we have been an agriculture-driven economy, and still about 60% people are still directly or indirectly affected by agriculture. So that is one sector that we have to preserve and protect. But I think we should also simultaneously look at other models of value creation. I think somehow in the last 40, 50 odd years, maybe as a consequence of government policies, restrictions, we missed out on the manufacturing opportunity. I think this is a time to kind of relook at that model, that why can't we have that kind of manufacturing capability, which let's say China built over a period of 3 or 4 decades.
Yeah, got it. And there's always the same situation is also having more discussion about the internationalization as well. Even you discussed this in class earlier. You used to start by saying internationalization is that important. The global tariffs are going down. You used to start discussion in that aspect, but now it's a completely different trend.
It's let's call it a fad.
I believe it's a phase.
Oh, it is totally a phase. It is absolutely a phase. Globally, tariff and non-tariff barriers are going down, and then that is one of the biggest reasons for internationalization. Apart from the internet, communication, transport, and all that all those things, this is a phase. We'll tide over it.
So another aspect from consulting perspective is, so whenever, as you rightly said, everything that's happening globally is, you should see it as an opportunity. But there is this alarming trend or a thing that even when a war happening, the consulting companies or these people see it as a trend or an opportunity specifically. So even the warfare advisory, the geopolitical advisory, that's also coming up as a domain, coming up as a specialization. How do you look at it? Think
tanks have been doing it for many years, many decades now. So why not the consulting companies? Why not the consulting firms? Because if we believe that silos are going down, then why should we restrict ourselves only to business models and productivity and efficiency and profitability and all that? We can give measured consulting advice on geopolitical relations.
It does open door to the broader topic of ethics in consulting as well.
That now we are getting into very dangerous territory. Ethics in consulting. What is the right model? I don't know. We always have the perennial dichotomy between ethics and growth. And we have discussed about a few companies that have taken a stand. We may choose to agree with it. We may choose not to agree with it. But that is a dilemma, and that is a typical ethical dilemma. That as a commercial venture, as a commercial enterprise, your first priority is towards your shareholders, which means that you have to drive growth. Now, you are also confronted by some ethical dilemma. Now, what is the right balance? I don't know. To each his own. Eventually, you have to make your own decision. What you perceive is right, what you perceive is not right.
Got it. And how does this geopolitical advisory, what is its ultimate objective or aim? Is it corporate resilience? Is it taking off trade barriers, critical infrastructure?
Possibly. I mean, at a very altruistic level, and I don't want to sound unnecessarily altruistic, but I think when Professor C.K. Prahalad was talking about future at the bottom of the pyramid, our late president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was talking about providing urban amenities to rural people. That problem still remains. There are a lot of people in this world, 4 billion, 4.5 billion, obviously we can do some market sizing around it, who still are subsisting at $1, $2 per day. There's a great economic opportunity there. Do you have the appetite to recalibrate your business model, recalibrate your value proposition to offer products and services? So I'm not looking at this from the perspective of non-economic factors. From my limited perspective, I'm looking at economic factors, that there is a huge amount of opportunity which is presenting itself towards what we proverbially call the future at the bottom of what we proverbially call the bottom of the pyramid. And do we have that kind of economic resilience? Do we have that kind of organizational flexibility to recalibrate, retune our business model towards those people or not? So I'm looking at it from a very economic perspective. And there are other perspectives as well. There's geopolitics, there's infrastructure, there's ethics, there's climate change, sustainability. But I'm going to confine myself and my areas of interest to what is the economic opportunity in a very, very unequal world. And what can we do as corporate enterprises? What can we do to bridge that gap? That's where I'm coming from.
And you also offer us the subject of entrepreneurship in one of our terms as well. So I think I should be asking this question. How do you look at this is a recurring question in all of our discussions as well. We being MBA graduates, we are not just should be wary about jobs, like we should also be wary about starting our own venture. And how do you look at the entrepreneurship space, the startup space at the moment, Indian startup space?
Well, for a country that has a 7,000-year-old tradition of entrepreneurship, I think we can do a lot better. Now, for a population of this size, we cannot expect the large corporations to create jobs, keep on creating jobs for people who are coming into the workforce. We cannot expect the governments to do that. Those days are gone. So it has to be small businesses, entrepreneurial businesses, cottage industries. We have to revive that element of the economy. We have it in us. I think we are producing the second or the third largest number of technology and management graduates in the world. So we have the intellectual firepower. What we are currently lacking is intent. Because of our socio-economic context, socio-cultural context, we want to always get into a job situation. Young people ask for jobs. Why can't young people create jobs for other people? I'm not saying that you look at it from a very philanthropic perspective. Look at it from a business perspective, that I'm creating jobs. I'm also making money for myself. I'm not running a not-for-profit here. So the entrepreneurial, there's one more problem with the entrepreneurial sector in this country that I observe. I have not done any research on it, but this is purely from observation, that we seem to be afflicted by the problem that we are chasing valuations rather than profit. So you look at, names will be odious, but I don't wish to take names, but some very large firms which have been at the vanguard of the Indian entrepreneurial success story in the last decade or so, have never generated a single rupee of profit. But their valuations have been sky high. All of them qualify as unicorns and so forth. I don't think that is a sustainable model. Eventually, every business enterprise must generate profit. Valuation will only take you that far. You can play the short-term game. You can get a valuation as a founder, you can exit the company, make your money, get out of it. But to me, that is like giving birth to a child and then abandoning the child after 3 years, giving up that child for adoption. So we can learn from the global tech companies who had it in them. Today they have deep pockets, but they didn't have deep pockets when they started. But they had the resilience. They said, we want to make it work. Think Microsoft, think Amazon, think Google. They were not successful from day one, but the kind of resilience and the kind of alacrity with which they saw and changed their business models to recalibrate their thinking and so forth. So they had organizational stability and they had organizational flexibility. Why can't we do that?
Ultimately, we shouldn't go with the trend of building up valuation and leaving our own.
I firmly believe so. To each his own. Like I said, this is also, like many other things in life, this is also a very personal decision. But I would recommend that any commercial venture seeks to derive a profit first and then chases growth.
Got it. And we were also having this discussion with one of our other professors in between as well. The two big names which can come up whenever we discuss about our own startup space. So we were thinking that's not a great innovation. That's not even an invention of sorts. But the counter was that, but they are creating jobs. They are.
Okay, I'll give you a scenario. Today, our largest tech companies, which have global delivery models, I personally believe that they have not been very innovative. They have not created products for the Indian market. They have largely satisfied the needs of the Western companies. Now, if today, as a consequence of tariffs on the Indian IT sector, these people start laying off people. We already have had an instance of one of the largest tech firms laying off 5% of its workforce just last week. Now, as a consequence of the tariffs on the IT sector, on the Indian IT sector, if these firms start laying off people in India, don't you think that they're actually working against the national interest? You are creating value for Western companies. But when the Western governments are imposing a tariff, who is getting penalized? The people in India are getting penalized. I think they are working against national interest. I think the government has to step in and government has to motivate these firms if they are not self-motivated, that why don't you come up with something a lot more innovative? Where is your intellectual property? The largest tech firms that create millions of jobs in this country, I would want those firms to also be very innovative. Create products and services where you have some kind of patent protection, intellectual property. Why only do job work for other people? I feel very strongly about it. I don't know what your views are, but then you wanted a candid observation. So there you are.
Thank you. So finally, we are going to wind up with delving a little more into some of the consulting myths that exist. Just want to know your comments on it. One of the biggest myths about consulting is that consulting is all about decks and Excel. What's your comment on it?
It should be about outcomes. It should be about outcomes. And if there is a firm, and there have been firms which have built their business models around extremely well done PowerPoint decks. Again, no names here, but eventually you are there to solve a problem for a client. If the client could solve that problem himself or herself, they would not call you. So it is your duty to help them solve the problem with whatever skills, whatever experience, whatever capabilities you bring to the table. Do that to the best of your ability. PowerPoint decks and Excel sheets are only a consequence of what you are doing. It is just a means to an end.
It's not a myth, or it's a myth.
I mean, consulting has to be outcome driven. I mean, that's all that I leave with you. If it is not outcome driven, you're not doing your job.
Another myth is that consultants just advise, they don't do real work.
Oh, we've heard that, haven't we? The consultants steal your watch, then tell you the time, and then bill you for it. That statement obviously betrays some kind of a trust deficit between the client and the consultant. A client and a consultant have to have the highest level of trust amongst themselves. And at a human level, at a corporate level, if there is any kind of breakdown of trust, the model will not work. So you have to be ethical in your practices. You have to do the job to the best of your ability. You have to solve the problem. And now increasingly, like I said earlier, you have to help the client in managing the change inside the organization as the reason for your existence. It is not just about formulating a strategy. That is 1%. 99% is execution. That's where we are headed.
And the last one. Consulting is a high-paying job with a lot of travel perks. This is not a myth, sir.
No, this is not a myth. They pay well. You get to travel a lot, except that same travel that you enjoy initially becomes a pain subsequently. The question is, how long can you do it? Intellectually and monetarily, it is very satisfying. But like I said, like anything else in life, there's always a trade-off. So you have to exercise your choices. If you can do that, fine, good for you. If you can't do that, do it for a couple of years. It will give you enough intellectual heft for you to be successful in a non-consulting strategic role or even in an entrepreneurial role. That is up to you, your choice completely.
So that's it, sir. Thank you so much for your time and insights.
Pleasure being here. Always good to talk to young people like yourselves. Whatever I can share, it's always there for you. But do well and let learning always be continuous. There is no full stop in learning. That is my only unsolicited piece of suggestion to you. Thank you very much for having me.
Once again, a very interesting and intriguing conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.